This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country. Anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
Military murder is an independent project and is not endorsed by the Department of Defense or any military component. The views expressed are those of the host. The content of this podcast is not meant to be legal or medical advice. Warning, this episode contains graphic details of murder and is not suitable for young listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, True Crime Army. Today on Military Murder, we're honored to speak with retired Command Sergeant Major Bart E. Womack, a decorated leader with over 3 decades in uniform. Bart was the Command Sergeant Major of the 1st Brigade, 101st Airborne Division at Camp Pennsylvania in March of 2003, when one of the most shocking insider attacks in modern history unfolded. He's the author of this book right here. See if I could put it in there. Okay. Embedded Enemy, The Insider Threat, where he recounts that harrowing night in detail. He shares what it taught him about leadership under chaos and how these lessons apply far beyond the military. All right, Sergeant Major, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I need
get into it.
I need my listeners to know that before today, you and I had we were supposed to have a brief conversation. And when we really got into it, our conversation was close to 3 hours long. Just kind of talking about military life, talking about the insider attack, talking about my podcast, talking about your book. And so I just why don't you tell everybody very briefly, I know you had a long history, but tell us about your background, like just real quick.
Wow. So real quick, so 29 and a half years in the military, rose to the ranking Command Sergeant Major. I don't think anything super special about that. I had a great time doing so, learned a lot as a leader from a very young age, and then, up to that particular rank. Went to quite a few places, was in some very, very different situations. One is what the byproduct of this book. Then there was another one that was prior to that we won't get into, but both of them are kind of ironic that people don't necessarily experience when they're serving in the military. And I thought in getting out that I get the full job that I wanted, so that propelled me to get out. No animosity at all. I was ready. I was ready before applying for that particular role. So when I didn't get it, great. It makes the whole decision-making process a lot easier. And I wanted to pursue acting and military technical advisor, which I did a little bit of training on in terms of the acting before I got out. So note to the audience that is preparing to transition out, I did do my work before I got into the profession. And that's what I want to get into. And I took that approach from the perspective of that the military had taught me everything I needed to know that I could do anything I wanted to do, with training. Couldn't go be a brain surgeon or anything like that because I wasn't trained to do that. But it definitely gave me the confidence to do things that weren't ordinary, and having the courage to be able to do those things and succeed at them. So I did that for a while. Then I switched to kind of corporate America, doing veteran-related things, veteran hiring types of things, as well as some training. And that's where I wrote the book before I got into that particular part of it. And being able to take the story of the book and weave that, if you will, from that experience into a speaking career and speaking on the subject of situational awareness, security. So again, from the confidence and things that I taught in the military, that I could weave and figure out anything to be successful.
Awesome. So I have a question for you. So you said you got out. First of all, I love how you say, "Oh, making command sergeant major is not that big a deal. Like it's, whatever." Come on, that's like a big congratulations. Like that's not easy. So I just want to say, anyone who's listening, it is not that easy to become a command sergeant major for the Army. So don't let him fool you. Okay. So you said you got out because you didn't get the position that you wanted. I won't get into that, but how did you end up? And was it a position that you wanted as the command sergeant major of the 1st Brigade, 101st Airborne Division? Tell me about that.
I think, obviously this is humility talking, but that's what I feel. It's not just, okay, make it this low key thing. If you have done all the right things, you're going to be get in those positions that are going to take you to where you want to get to. You need to have a trajectory. You need to have a plan. Again, back to the audience, I diverted a little bit in terms of transitioning out. Like the military set you up for everything from the very beginning. Like we pumped you off the street, put you in training right away, and then some more training right away, and then put you in a job, and then continue to train you. What? Same thing is true when you get out. Okay, I digress. But my point is, if you do all those right things, the trajectory is going to be there. But you have to do all the things. Mm-hmm. And you have to perform at the end of the day. You have to perform. Maybe not, kissing the ball or anything like that. You have to perform. And your performance is going to take care of itself. I like to think the military allowed for that. At least for me, it allowed for that. And my job is just to perform. Be the best that I can be and take care of my soldiers and their families. So you do all those things, you're going to get to those particular ranks, and then the next one, and then the next one. So same is true. You start at the battalion level, and once your time is kind of done at the battalion level, you're looking for that next job of working for an 06 at the brigade level, and that's what happened. You're selected. There's other command sergeant majors that are vying for the same opportunity to move up and be a brigade sergeant major. And when that time's up at brigade, you're vying for the same thing for the next one. Your job is to work for, if you work for 06, then you work for 07 or 1-star, and then 2-star, and 4. That's what you want to do. So it's keeping your eye on what the prize is of where you want to go and what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So I have a question for you. In your book, you talk about the gravity of leading soldiers on the evening of combat. Like that is so heavy, right? What was the atmosphere like at Camp Pennsylvania in the days leading up to the attack? Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, it was all preparation for war and then crossing the border into Iraq. Not knowing the specific day as we led up to March 23rd. So on March 22nd, that last word that we received at that particular time, which was a Saturday, that we were going to be crossing the border to invade Iraq on the upcoming Thursday. So 5 days from that time. My math is fine. So that was a Saturday. 2 days prior, on a Thursday, which would have been March 20th, I believe, was the shock and awe. I call it bombs on Baghdad because that's what happened. like you bomb Baghdad, looking for us. So I was able to watch that on television. So in the 20 days leading up to the time we were in camp at that particular time, about 22 days, if you didn't know you were there for a war, because aside from prep and everything, it's kind of like we always did covering for training, right? And other deployments. So it wasn't nothing new in that regard, because fighting hadn't started yet. But with those bombs, just seeing those bombs drop on Baghdad, okay, now it's kicking off. It's just a matter of time for, it's our time. So that's what it was, for the whole time. It's just preparation. Our stuff had to come in the company. It was just by train, then ship, of course. We were waiting for all those things to come, had all the people in place, just waiting for all our equipment. By that time we had that, and then, waiting on our ammunition.
Just you, okay. So if you're okay with it, I know my listeners definitely want to know, but can you take me back to that night of March 23rd, 2003? You wrote in your book about watching, I was just a little bit I found this part of your book so like raw and real, where you talk about watching a golf tournament, right? Because you're unwinding and this all happens before the blast. So you have no idea that this attack is going to take place, right? What was going through your mind in the moments like just before the grenade rolled in? And I know, and then my second part of that question is, I know that in your book, you kind of thank Tiger Woods for saving your life. So tell me more about this, about your experience in that moment.
Yeah, so that day it put our final touches on our particular war plan for our part of the invasion, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, we were supposed to leave on that Thursday. Some people were going to air assault in, that was the plan. And others would move via ground assault convoy, this long death ride into Iraq in a Humvee or a vehicle. So putting the final touches on the plans, and it was almost kind of a celebratory moment, like, okay, there's nothing else unless there's a frag or whatever. There won't be a change, and that's not. I mean, all of operations, most of our operations, people just kind of, you could see the weight let off and them kind of relaxing or whatever. The colonel went to bed that night at 2200 hours. That's a relative. He went to bed the whole time that we had been in Kuwait. And so for me, my day was surrounded around. We just opened up a new shop on the camp there. I was getting some snacks. We also watched golf. I had watched the 2 previous nights. This tournament was called the Bay Invitational, and now it's called the Palmer Invitational. And Army was going to watch the round on Saturday, right? So I had my snacks. I was watching golf. Ammo just came early that day, right before dusk, right before it got dark. That's when the ammo came. My driver bought my ammo for my 9mm, so I have that on my desk. I'm loading magazines, watching Tiger Woods play golf, and I'm setting up the bill pay on my computer, all 3 at the same time. It's going to be a long night, right? Watching golf. So that's what I'm doing just prior. So the tent flap, so the cover is probably about 5 feet in front of me to my kind of half right. I'm sitting at the end of this long table. So at the end, I can see the floor in front of me. And the tent's entrance and exit is to my right, about another 4 feet or so. Well, it kind of moved. It got my attention. I looked at it, just realized it was just the wind. So after that, I'm focused on golf again, and it kind of moved again. But I ignored it this time because I just figured it was going to be the wind again. Well, right after that, I see these sparks in front of me, probably, just past the television, so 5.5 feet up against that tent wall that's right in front of me, and I see these sparks. And I know it's some type of grenade. I just don't know what type of grenade it is. For some reason, it's sparking before it explodes. So, as you read the book, I say, we're in the ladder, not quite right, and that's a not quite right grenade. It's sparking before it explodes. Mm-hmm. But I know what type of grenade. I jump up. Our executive officer is in the tent as well. He's on the other side of the table. He sees what I see. But I know the colonel was in the back sleep.
He saw it happen. So the two of you, like your eyes met on the grenade, like you both saw it at the same time.
Right. I'm on one side of the table sitting down, but I can see the floor. He's on the other side of the table. So he's closer to the tent wall with a grenade, stop it. So I know he can take care of himself because he saw what I saw.
Right.
So I got away from it, went to the back of the tent to get the colonel up. I wake him up, tell him there's a grenade about to go off up front. We got to get out of here. Right, get your boots on everything. And everything's happening real fast. Now, those actions that I told you I was doing, I was seeing right below with fluorescent lights. So it was light as day at that particular time. By the time we get to the back of the tent, it gets dark.
The lights went out, or they were already dark? Okay.
Yeah, they went out. So he gets up and everything and said, we're going to run on count of 3. He finally gets his boots on, and I put him on my right side. The grenade up front is on my left side. And I counted 3, and we took off running. And it was very, pretty narrow area to try to run and get out of the tent. And I make it out the tent flap. There's a little vestibule area. It's probably another 6 feet long or so. And then I'm to the outside. And, that air kind of hits my face. I turn around and I'm calling the colonel's name, right? Sir. in hush tolerance. I know we're on some type of attack. I didn't want to silhouette myself by hollering his name or hollering for him. And, but no answer. He's not there. And I'm facing now the direction of our tent that I just came out of. Now, probably, my momentum probably took me a good 10, 15 feet past the entrance. And no sign of him, and then I hear a gunshot. And I know that the XO has been shot. I just know it's his voice. Although I've never heard him yell before, I just know that it's him.
But he's not in your tent.
Well, he's the one that was on the side tent and saw the sparks when I did.
Oh, okay. Sorry. And he's the XO, you said?
Right.
Because you were, and we didn't mention this, but you were in the command tent, clearly, because you're the command sergeant major. But that's like the command tent. Like that is like the brains of everything.
Right. So in that tent, we just need a commander and the executive officer. Okay. So what I do when I am running out of the tent, I can sense that someone's in that little vestibule there. It's dark, you can't see. I can feel the body there. But my thoughts tell me that there's the XO, not an enemy. I just knew that it was him. Couldn't see him. But in running out, he was kind of to the left side. And so when I hear that, I hear a gunshot and I hear a yell, I just know that it's him. And I reach for my weapon and I attempt to cock it. My audience probably knows that you have a magazine, you're a 9mm weapon, and there's no rounds in there. You cock it, then the bullet's going to be locked to the rear. So there's no changing around, it's just all to the rear, no round. All my ammo's all out on the desk. Hadn't gotten that far in loading. I probably hadn't loaded one magazine, let alone a few rounds. That was my plan as I was sitting there, and I didn't start one. So I realized I'm screwed. You don't bring a unloaded weapon to a gunfight. So I just figured that there has to be, weapon and ammunition in the top. It's about 25, yards or so behind me. So I just start letting into the top and asking for a weapon and ammunition and night vision goggles so I can see. I began to position people throughout the top to secure the top. I remember the two guards the two people that were up front were from a National Guard unit that was they were actually, attached to the camp. So one for us while we're at the camp and putting them down in a prone at the main entrance there, and then putting other people throughout the top to protect all the entrances. So I finally get that, M4 and rounds and nods, and I head back out toward my tent to look for the XO and the commander. And they're not there. And there's no one outside. So, I didn't feel the eeriness of it, but, you have that. You have the smoke that's out there. It's dark and, you're in the attack, but you don't see the enemy. You don't see any of your people. So I can't find them right away. I go into the entries on my tent, call them, and they're not there. So I go back to the top and summon someone to look for them while I look for the enemy. So when I come back out to look for the enemy, now there's a few people outside. So I'm challenged. Someone says, "Oh, who's there?" Well, that challenging password thing. And they recognize my voice. I recognize their voice. They tell me who I am and say, "Well, Sergeant, what's going on?" I said, "I don't know." I don't know, but Major Romaine has been shot. And then he tells me that Captain Seeger has been shot. So we try to figure out what's going on. He asked me what happened to the lights. There was a generator light set that was there in our brigade area, and that was off. It didn't dawn on me when I came out at 10 that light wasn't on. I had so much going on when thinking about lights.
Right.
I should back up and tell everyone kind of set up this camp for them. So our headquarters is in the middle of this camp. I said the camp's like 10 football fields, probably larger. So picture that, 10 football fields, and then you have the headquarters area, the top, and 10 tents that's housing the headquarters personnel in the middle of this camp. And there's 5,000 people in this camp. Over 4,200 of them belong to the 1st Brigade, and then there's 800-man battalion that's a combat support battalion, a division asset. And so you have this headquarters in the middle, and then everyone else kind of around it. That's what the camp just mad about.
Hmm.
So we're looking for the enemy. Again, people that begin to come out of tents, they're being instructed to get in certain security positions throughout the tent bunkers. By this time, sirens are going off. Well, unbeknownst to me, and I can't explain this, this is some doctor's job that tells you about an adrenaline rush.
Yes.
That the first grenade that went into my tent along with the sparks was an incendiary grenade to start fires. A frag grenade was thrown into the tent that exploded.
Uh-huh.
And that's why the commander didn't come out of the tent at some point. I think he ran into something first, and then the grenade was thrown in. The grenade was thrown to the second tent, the grenade was thrown into a third tent, and then somebody was shot. So if you go back to my tent, the XO shot, then a frag grenade goes in. In the second tent, they begin to stand up because of a gunshot and a frag grenade going off. So a frag grenade explodes at a 15-degree radius. So if you're below the 15 degrees, I'll have to say 14, then you're probably okay. If you're above that, you're in trouble. The higher you are, the more your silhouette, the higher your silhouette is, the more in danger you are of that grenade.
So dropping is probably the best bet if you can't escape it.
If you can't escape it, now realize it's going to blow 360 degrees. So if you're lower than that, you have a possibility of not getting hit by any. Just a possibility. But just know that it explodes at 15 degree radius. So if you can't get behind anything and you're above 15 degrees, you're going to be in jeopardy.
Right. And so before you continue, I have a question for you, just because you're talking about everything that's going on, and this is perfect for my question. As everything is happening, like from the get-go, how do you think that your training before this prepared you or did not prepare you for a situation like this, where the fight comes to you, kind of, versus you going into the fight and kind of like already being in that mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question. And no one's ever asked that question in terms of the fight coming to you. And I like to explain that to people in this situation. Like I said, when I was out there, no one else is out there. And we don't necessarily train for the fight to come to. We don't train for the fight to come to us with one person. Maybe I have another buddy, you got a buddy team, but just one person in the fight comes to you. No, you kind of train for it in terms of the process of elimination. If everyone's getting, hit or injured or whatever, then, you'd be just a lone survivor, et cetera. But you may have that scenario in training. But I would say that it was all training. That there was never a time of being over anxious or anything like that. It was just execute. The decisions just came and flowed of what the next thing was to do, and then the next thing to do, and then the next thing to do. And training did that, even though you were never put out in a situation by yourself to combat it. Just even doing it with a team, you say, okay, your team's not here. You still have to execute whatever the mission is based on the knowledge that you have and the circumstances and all those types of things. So I would say without the training, you'd be very confused. Let the training, come. I was just calm. I knew what the next thing was, and then the next thing was, and then the next thing was.
Right. So when it came to your decision making, and we're going to get to that here in a second because you're going to tell us what happened, but what drives or what drove your particular decision making in this case? Was it in addition to training? Was it anything else like instinct? Was it faith? Was it any type of sports that you had played in the past? I mean, I'm just trying to think. I can't imagine. But I want to learn from someone who has survived something like this. What kind of drives your decision making in that?
Yeah, and training and instinct. Whatever the situation is, something's going to be presented to you.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have here is an attack. We know the two people have been shot. We know 3 grenades have gone off. At this point, we have casualties. And, what is the next thing and the next thing and the next thing? But it's instincts, so if you have casualty, next thing you have to do is treat them. How do you treat them? And it was the process to start that way. You start triaging which ones are more critical versus others. When I was in the talk one of the times, there was a call on the radio. I asked for reinforcements because, like I said, before, there's no one else out there. So I got on the radio and asked for an opportunity to come over from one of our infantry battalions to search the area. Because at the time, I felt like I was the only one out there. I didn't see anybody else, didn't hear anybody else, and I knew I couldn't search the whole area by myself.
And, well, I could, but it's going to take a while. So I called for reinforcements for that. And after that call, our aid station that was on the camp, someone heard that call and said, hey, do you need an FLA? Field Leader Ambulance. I said yes, because I knew one person was shot. Had no idea of the other casualties at that particular time. I said yes, they're in the vicinity of the top. But thank goodness that person was alert and asked that question, because that helped expedite the process of evacuating our casualties from that location to the aid station or the camp. So everyone's trying to work in synchronization based on the information that they had.
Mm-hmm. At this point, were you thinking, and I know because I read the book, but my listeners haven't, were you thinking, oh my goodness, they have infiltrated? What were you looking for exactly? Like, I mean, at this point, you're like, man, they are really, really close. And they're also really, really, really hiding because you're outside. There's no one there, right? It's not like someone's just out there like, hey, I'm here for a fight. So what are you thinking in that moment?
Yes. As the casualty evacuation was taking place, we had someone in charge of that. Still putting people in security positions. People are in bunkers by now. Sirens going off. It always went off and nothing was happening, but this time something was happening. So we have all these things going on at once while we're still looking for the enemy. So I think first and foremost that something had to have changed in this camp. So I go on and talk as if something changed. We've been here all these nights and nothing like this had even come close to happening. I had gone to the guard towers and checked many nights to make sure people were doing the right thing. I was kind of pissed at first. I said, well, the guards must have gone to sleep. That's the only way someone can infiltrate the camp. Mm-hmm. Now, again, 10 football fields, right? Well, bigger. In the camp, it is surrounded by 12-foot dirt berms and then concertina wire on top. I have to insert the word, it's impossible. It's impossible to scale that 12-foot berm dirt because you're going to sink before you can get to the top to maneuver to even think about climbing over concertina wire before the guards like pick you off. Impossible. Mm-hmm. But
soldiers do get in trouble for falling asleep a lot. Just FYI. I know that. But and I'm not to make light of it, but I mean, you're right. Yeah. It would be like more people would know. Like I wouldn't just be out here by myself, like wondering what the heck, right?
So I achieved it right away because how else could someone have gotten to the camp if they were away? It's impossible, right? So, I mean, I remember kicking a chair in the talk, saying that if guards went to sleep, it's the only way someone could have gotten here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then I say, something had to have changed in this camp. We've been all these nights, nothing, close like this ever happened. Something changed. Mm-hmm. And then I'm told that interpreters came into the camp just a few hours prior. Bam, has to be them. Go find them.
Oh, yes. I see.
So the search begins for the interpreters. They're found, they weren't hiding, but they're located, I should say, apprehended, and then, interrogated, just allowing that they had nothing to do with it. So now I'm thinking that, okay, if it's not them, we're back to insurgents. How'd they get into the camp? And then more importantly, if they're that good that they can come in, infiltrate the camp, cause all this devastation and injuries and not leave one side, then our intel about how they fight, how good they are, et cetera, is poor. And we are really in for a fight when we cross that border. Because these guys are good. Like, there's no sign of them at all. They are really good.
Right.
So people are loaded into the Field Leader Ambulance, taken to the local aid station that's on camp. The military helicopter comes in. People are loaded onto that, and they are up in the air and headed to a 1-minute flight to the Cash Combat Support Hospital. 1 minute, max. It was very, very close. Second helicopter lands, casualties are loaded. And as the second helicopter lands, there's a huge fireball in the sky. And now we
So
think,
hold on
okay,
a second. I just want to, because I know what's coming. And so I just want all of my listeners to really pay attention, because I have heard about the Camp Pennsylvania incident before. And it wasn't until I talked to Command Sergeant Major and also read the book that I learned about what he's about to say. And it's just so interesting how history is made by the people who write it. And if you don't write about it, then people will not know. So go ahead and continue. I'm sorry. I don't not mean to keep cutting you off. I want everyone's ears to be, I want them to turn their ears on.
Yeah. So there's huge fireballs in the sky. And again, sirens are going off already. People are monitoring them, the stud bunkers is what we call them. And there's huge fireballs in the sky. So now we're thinking, we know we've been attacked on the ground, but we're being attacked from the air. And don't know what caused the explosion and don't know what was being exploded. But a Patriot battery that was the division I set. Now there's 3 camps. There's Camp Pennsylvania, the Rural one, there's Camp New Jersey, and there's Camp New York. The other 2 infantry brigades are in those other 2 camps, as well as the division headquarters is on one of them. But the Patriot battery is located in the division headquarters for us. So you got to realize you got the grenade explosions going off. You got 2 gunshots. So in the night in the desert, that sound travels a long way. And Patriot battery, they see this fast-moving object on their screen coming across while all these explosions are happening, just right after these explosions, and they shoot it down. Obviously, they think that it is a potential Scud. Fast-moving object comes across the radar, they shoot it down. Well, fast forward, we learn that it was a British Tornado fighter jet returned from a mission. So now we actually have a friendly fire incident and the crew getting that.
How many people? How many people were in the crew?
Two pilots.
Two.
Pilot and co-pilot. Yeah.
Okay. And how soon after they are shot down do you personally learn that it was a friendly fire incident, like a fratricide?
We all learn that. So I would say that incendiary grenade, the one that was sparked, it first came into a tent a little after 100 hours, about 12 minutes after 1. Is my guesstimation timeline of start. And probably about 08, the next one. So 7 hours later, we heard that it was a British Tornado fighter jet. So at the time it exploded and all that, we had no idea.
What time was it shot down? Do you remember?
Probably, everything's happening really fast. So if an incendiary grenade came in about 12 after, I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of no later than 1:35.
Oh, wow. So like minutes.
Maybe 1:40 at best.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
So that happens. And we really, aside from this huge explosion that captures everyone's attention of looking up, and you think, okay, potential Scud, you didn't think if it was a Scud as it emitting any fumes or anything like that. That wasn't a thought at all.
No.
There were a few people that had already donned their masks based on the siren or whatever. I was not one of them at all. So this explosion goes off, it captures your attention because it's a ginormous fireball in the sky. And then it lights up the whole ground. And so you think it's a coordinated attack. Now, would there be another one coming? That's what the Patriot battery has to detect that anyway. We can't see the thing coming. So the focus goes off of that immediately. Now it's back to the insurgents. Oh, but there might be an attack from the air at the same time we're looking for insurgents. So again, the interpreters have been ruled out. It was just all on the insurgents. So about this time, the commander was in the tent when that frag grenade rolled in, knocked him back into a sleeping area. He is located and brought to the top, kind of comes out of a little bit of concussed state and says we need to get accountability of our personnel. So that call goes over the radio. And then we get a call back that everyone had been accounted for except for a Sergeant Hassan Akbar, who was missing and saw our grenades and ammunition.
What time?
So
What time was that? What time did that happen? What time was the accountability completed? And did they know that the grenades were missing?
That's a good one. I want to say, and I put the timeline in the book. I don't know by heart now, but probably 70 minutes.
Oh, that's quick. That's kind of quick, right? I mean, it's quick to. I mean, you're supposed to be able to take accountability that quickly. But I mean, even with all this chaos, and we'll learn later that the commander, his arm was injured and he did get blasted by the grenade. So for him to be concussed and still say like, "Hey, we need accountability," and for all of the people to be able to get accountability, what 4,200 people you said, 4,200 people in your unit.
Yeah.
4,200 people, and then realize that only one person is missing within 70 minutes. That's pretty amazing.
I don't know. We did a lot of training. I don't know that we ever, in our training, we took a timeline on how fast we could get accountability. I guess the funny thing, and I have to admit this, that because I was so focused on identifying and capturing and finding the enemy, and the security of just our lower headquarters area, I wasn't thinking about accountability.
But this is
I kept seeing people, so moving people in security positions and all that, and trying to, find this enemy. So we need to eliminate the threat. That was my phone. Eliminate the threat.
No, but that's amazing. This is amazing.
But our executive officer probably would have, put out a call for accountability, but he's injured. So our brigade S3 might have been the next guy, but it was kind of ironic that it took the commander to say, we need to get accountability.
That's his job. That's his job as a commander.
Everyone else knew that too. But it took him to do that, right? Everybody had a role. And that's the thing. Everybody had a role.
Right.
Who knows how long we would have been, doing whatever had he not said that. But once he said that, the calls came in quickly that one person was missing and sword grenades and ammunition. So he became my number one suspect. But think about this. There's 5,000 people in a camp. There's 4,200 in my unit, but overall 5,000. They're all dressed the same and DCUs. They all have helmets on. They all have a weapon, all those things. And you're trying to find one. And 99.9% of the headquarters, people in the headquarters, didn't know what this person looked like. It's one of our soldiers of the 4,200, and everyone doesn't know what every soldier looked like.
Well, yeah, but
Bart Womack.
To play devil's advocate here, I mean, you're in a deployed location. You're usually in the same spot all the time. So if you can't find someone, especially if there is an incident that happens, if there was an incident that occurred and I knew about it, and I assume everybody on Camp Pennsylvania knew about it, you would go and report, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go and report like, hey, how can I help? What should I be doing? So in any event, you have a person who is unaccounted for. So what are your thoughts? Okay, so now you have this unaccounted person, and are you the one leading the way here, or what's going on? Like, who are we searching for him, or what's going on?
So we still have our people on the ground. Everyone's in medevac. I should add that when that explosion happened was right when the second medevac helicopter landed. It was loaded up with casualties, but they were told because of that explosion, again, they think it's a scud, that they didn't want them to take the flight, that 1-minute flight to the local cache. They were told they had to go to a cache that was 75 kilometers away. And that arguably cost Captain Seifert his life, who was shot point blank in the back.
And he was the one in the set. He was in the second. He would have been in the second.
No, he wasn't second. But they couldn't take that 1-minute flight. They had to go 75 kilometers away.
Oh my gosh!
Just because of that explosion. So we're looking for Margot. We find out that it's him. I go to my leaders. Remember, we had that whole platoon over there, and my first sergeant, everyone else, because they were focused on triage and the casualties and all that. So now the casualties have been evacuated. They're on the search as well. And I tell them that this is who we're looking for, and they have to digest that a minute. Again, 99.9% of the people at headquarters had no idea who this was. Well, what did he look like? So I remember telling her first one, he says, "You mean it's one of our own guys?" I was like, "Yep." So you tell, your soldiers all that. I'm not going to tell you how to tell. I don't know how you explain to them that we're looking for one of our own guys. So you can imagine that he has to go tell them that, and they know the name is not within their headquarters, but where is he? What does he look like? How do you defend a particular area? And someone's coming by or walking up or whatever. Bottom line, how do you prevent fratricide in that particular case when they're wearing the same thing you are? You don't want them to get too close. So that's the hair standing up on everyone's neck, if you will, in that situation. Where before, you're looking for the surgeons wearing something different or whatever. Now this person's wearing the exact same thing as you are, unless they're smart enough to change clothes. So you have that going on. So I go we come out of the talk after we get that message. I go one way, and our intel officer, Major Warren, goes to another. Now, he'd been going on all night, walking around with his pistol in his hand, checking bunkers, giving instructions to the people that are in the bunkers. He would walk up, ask them who they are, etc. So we noticed when we came out of the talk, after learning there was Akbar, there was one bunker that he hadn't gone to all night. So he goes in his bunker. As he gets close, he says, who do we have over here? That's what he'd done all night, every bunker he approached. And the response is, Sergeant Akbar. Well, Akbar didn't know we're looking for him. So the major has the wherewithal to holster his weapon so it didn't look like a threat, continues to walk toward the bunker, and then he says, well, who else do we have in there? And another guy that's in the bunker with Akbar says his name. Now, think about this. So Akbar is alleged to have done this at this particular point, and he's missing, and throwing grenades and ammunition, and now he's kind of victim, if you will. I'm in the bunker like everyone else, and I'm in the bunker with someone else. After I'd already shot 2 people and threw grenades into these tents. And he's in the bunker with someone else right now, but not attacking. So I always say that something turns an attacker on. In all these attacks, they could always be worse than they are. All the school ones, all the workplace, they can always be worse than they are. Something turns them on, and then something turns them off. It turns them on to do whatever, and instead of continuing the attack, even they may kill themselves. They're out of ammo. You never hear they use the last round on themselves. Something turns them on, something turns them off. And the same thing is true here with Akbar, because he's in a bunker with fellow soldiers.
So which bunker was this specifically? Was this you said they had failed to look there before? Was it just like an extra one?
He had gone around to all the bunkers as well as putting people in security positions or whatever. You realize when he came out and talked that there was one that he had not gone to yet.
Got it. Okay.
So it wasn't necessarily a failure. So anyway, he continues to approach the bunker again. Like I said, he holstered his weapon so he appeared to be a threat. Gets closer to Akbar and takes him down. That's how Akbar is apprehended.
Okay. All right. And so this is the next day or the same day, right? The same.
Yeah. Like 7 minutes later-ish.
So just real quick. What happened by the time did they bring him to you? I think I saw some film of like him just sitting there being walked away in handcuffs or whatever. But tell me about that experience for you. Like, did you have an opportunity to talk to him or what was that like?
So when he's apprehended there, so I didn't walk around all night. Again, I had this M4 that I don't know whose it is in the talk, but I had that. And I didn't have any other gear on. I had like a ski cap on and a fleecy jacket, right? So once he's apprehended, I take the opportunity to go back to my tent and to get my gear. And on my way there, I had a flashlight out and I see a piece of brass near the entrance of my tent. I just assumed that it had to be the expended piece of brass from when the XO had been shot. I go into my tent, try to locate my gear, and then I see that our unit colors were all burnt up. So when that first grenade that came in, it sparked with a center grenade, just started fire. So the whole side of the tent was just burnt up.
And I see the color. So now I'm pissed. So the sergeant major is the custodian of the colors, and like our colors, there are no colors. They're just ashes. So I'm pissed off about that. And then I moved toward my gear just to find that my area where I slept, that's where the frag grenade blew up. So I can see the big depression in the ground where, it went down. Like I said, it blew 360 degrees. So it's my whole area, just shrapnel everywhere. I slept on this thing called a bivy sack. That's like the liner for the sleeping bag, full of holes, and more importantly, holes around the head. I would see my head all the way at the top of the bivy sack when it looked like Swiss cheese. All the plastic around my ear is blown up. The floorboards are blown up. Everything in my ear is blown up. Like the grenade rolled right where I slept. So had I not been watching Tiger Woods play golf, then I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Somebody had found this locker, this wall locker in the desert someplace, and bought it back. Said, "Tom Brady, have this wall locker you wanted." Well, like I was seeking a wall locker, but okay, I'll take it. And I remember the ex-seller, he's like giving me all kinds of crap about having this wall locker. I said, "Sorry, we're not going to stay here forever, right? Like, what do you need a wall locker?" Well, I didn't need a wall locker. Someone gave me the wall locker, so I'm using the wall locker.
Right.
And kind of in the aftermath of things, like you always give me crap about this wall locker, but the wall locker ended up saving him from being hit by shrapnel because the grenade, again, exploded 360 degrees, like annihilated that wall locker, but it kept the shrapnel from coming to where he had moved to in the tent. Yeah. And this is before it got shot. So I remember after in interviewing about the book, he says, "Okay, now I have to thank you for that wall locker."
Oh my gosh. That I know you talk about
stuff like that.
Yeah, you talk about the wall locker in the book, and it's interesting, right? Because when you're deployed, people leave things behind, and you kind of just take them over, right? You're just like, "Oh, this is mine now," since you left it, and so that wall locker.
Really, my dude bought it back in the truck. It was just like, "So what'd you get that? I'm just laying over the desert. I thought you might have been like, why don't you think I want? Okay, but I'll take it. You bought it back here, right?" But it ended up saving him from getting blasted by shrapnel. And probably deflected some because I told you our commander got hit with shrapnel, but it ended up being 2 pieces, in his arm. But probably had it not been for that wall locker, he may have eaten a lot more. Mm-hmm. Remember, he's standing up.
Yeah,
both of them were standing up. On the flip side, in the second tent, they began to stand up. And that's why I mentioned that 15-degree radius. Mm-hmm. So 2 of the casualties there got hit, really bad. They were our Air Force LNOs. And, one of them ended up with 83 grenade shrapnel wounds in his body. Wow. And the other one was severely injured as well. Two eventually died. Captain Seaver got shot in the back. And then Major Stone was the one. He died of his 83 grenade shrapnel wounds in his body. He died 2 days later. Captain Seaford was hours later. And then 13 others were wounded.
13 others were wounded. So
6 of them, were medevaced and never returned to the unit.
And then the others were returned to continue their deployment?
Yeah, some of them were like the colonel, we call it walker wounded, just, I won't say flesh wounds, but, got flying razor blades. That's what shrapnel is. So, we call it walker wounded. Another guy, that's why I mentioned this whole 15-degree radius. I say you need to be maybe at 14. Because he was laying down when a grenade exploded, asleep, but he got some in his feet. So it wasn't like he wore 17s. So it's tricky. 15-degree radius, but he's laying down. So,
yeah.
And then in another, that was a second tent. Then in the third tent, there was a guy who had started coming out. So by now you got gunshot, explosion. He had started coming out of the tent. And realized he got his ammo, had to go back in the tent, and he stepped all in the back, got his ammo. By the time he started coming back out again, when that grenade rolled into that tent, he was 17 inches away from the grenade.
Got it. So you get back to so I want to just go back real quick. So I want to finish your thought that you said. You went back to your tent and you basically saw the aftermath of the grenade attack in your room. and you're getting ready. So Akbar has been taken in and you're getting ready to go back and see him, or tell me more about that. Like, tell me about this experience right now. Let's narrow down.
So colors are burned up. I'm pissed off about that. I see that I wouldn't be alive because I let a grenade explode in my sleeper here. So now I'm pissed. And I want revenge. Like, this dude tried to kill me. Like, for real. And I'm going to do something to him. So I get my gear. I head back over to where he was apprehended. By now, he's face down on the ground. He's flex cuffed. And I'm walking toward him. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something. I don't have a plan for it, but yeah, this dude trying to kill me, right? And as I get closer to him, there's people trying to get to him, like, why'd you do this? Why'd you hurt my friends? And then I spend my time trying to hold them back. So whatever plan I was going to execute, they screwed up my plan.
Which is good because you are the command sergeant major. We need to show some control, but you know, good. All right. So, okay.
Straight up an eye for an eye at that point. I can tell you that right now, but they screwed that all up. So then
well, thank you for your honesty. I thank you for your honesty, because I feel like a lot of times as leaders, you're like, oh, well, I got to wear the white hat all the time. And listen, it's not easy to be a leader. Sometimes you just want to like really just pound some people. And okay, so you get there and what happens?
Most leaders probably were about to be murdered. So put them in that situation and see what their thoughts are. That's how I look at it. You getting that? Okay, then tell me. Like, right. Murder. Yeah. In that fashion. So anyway, so I'm told that, okay, it's a sergeant major, here's his weapon. I take his weapon. I take his weapon because I want to smell it. I smelled that it's either been recently fired. And it had. And it was still on fire. I put it on safe, but I didn't clear it. I didn't clear it because I wanted those rounds that were in the magazine, that round that was in the chamber, if they were going to match that piece of brass that was by my tent. If they all came from the same, if that weapon fired that shot of brass that was by my tent, then the doric, or the numbers on the back of the round, they would match. So I didn't want to disturb that weapon.
Can I interrupt you one more? I'm sorry. All these questions are just like flying in my legal brain, right? So you're a command sergeant major. You're here to lead people, to shape people, to lead the fight. But now you're like an investigator, right? Like you have like this investigative hat. I can't imagine, maybe I'm wrong, but was CID embedded with you guys at this point?
All right, True Crime Army, I'm going to stop the interview right now because we get into it. This is where the story really picks up. We figure out who the perpetrator is, and then we move on to the investigation and then his court-martial. If you're interested in listening to part 2 early and ad-free, make sure you check out my Patreon this week only at patreon.com/militarymurder. If you sign up for a free account on my Military Murder Patreon, you will be able to see part 2 early and ad-free. It's not going to come out the same day as part 1, but you will be able to see it early and ad-free. That's patreon.com/militarymurder. You do not want to miss part 2. In part 2, we get into the rest of the story, but also Command Sergeant Major retired Womack does go into his training and what he has learned post-attack with regards to active shooter drills and all of those types of things. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye.
Mama's working on her podcast. I don't want to.